I had the issue with my 7.3 powerstroke where it wouldn't start after the rebuild. So in this video I'm going to go through everything that was wrong with why it would not start. And these are not your typical answers on YouTube, because I've been through all of those for months. This is a 2001 Ford Powerstroke box truck. The first problem we had was we lost the check ball that's in the high pressure oil pump, which is designed to help build up pressure, and that's used with the IPR somehow. We lost this ball when we went to go clean the high pressure oil pump before putting it back on the engine after doing a rebuild. The second problem was that the IDM was bad for some reason. The truck ran before we did the engine rebuild. So we replaced that anyway, just in case it was bad, and then later I had somebody check the original and it was bad. So we got a remanufactured one. I think it was around $100 or something. And then the next problem was that, well, it had great fuel pressure, and Ian was saying, oh, we should replace the fuel pump just in case. So he replaced the fuel pump, which is down below here under the truck somewhere. We replaced that, and he hooked up the wires backwards, so it was pushing fuel towards the tank instead of pushing it towards the engine. And the last problem of why it would not start is because we had the cam sensor on completely backwards. It sits down here. Let me get a view from the bottom of the truck. The cam sensor sits right there. So we had that on like a different way, so I guess we tried to make the plug go up towards the top of the engine, because it kind of makes sense because of the plug. It doesn't really make that much sense that the plug would be pointing towards the ground, I guess, besides that you can access it. So somehow we had hooked that up wrong. It was probably Ian's fault. And also, don't forget to buy an oil pan gasket, or else you'll have a lot of problems sealing the oil pan. I probably got to take this off and redo it. Originally they were just silicone on there, but for some reason we just could not get the thing to seal. It just had a couple leaks in a few spots. Another problem we have with this is just the battery connections are just really bad, so we redid those. The issue with that was it would turn over like really fast, and then it would just start to slow down. So after we made good connections on both of the batteries, and the batteries are brand new too, then it really helped fix that problem. Here's the other connection. Ian just hacked it off and put a new connection on there on both of those. If you have a no start on your Powerstroke 7.3, the best place to start is to find out if you have enough oil pressure at the cylinder head. Once you have that information, then you can start diagnosing other things. So if you have enough oil pressure, then the truck should start, but if it isn't, usually the IDM is bad. And sometimes the PCM can be bad, which is the computer for the truck. And so in our case, we replaced the IDM because it was bad. And if you do have enough oil pressure, you do need to make sure you're getting fuel too. The screens in the fuel tank can get clogged up, so the fuel can't be drawn through them very easily. That's another problem that would cause a no power issue. So we had that issue as well in this truck. If you don't have fuel pressure, it's definitely not going to start. Oil pressure, fuel pressure. Do you have signal? Signal is from that cam position sensor. We really should have knew better on this one, but we didn't have a tool to test that we were getting signal from the cam position sensor. So we got somebody else to look at it that had a scan tool, and he could see all these things. So it made so much more sense to like pay somebody else to read all this stuff that had the tool. However, this guy that helped me with this didn't even charge me anything. We built him turbos and stuff. We saved him a bunch of money and all that. It's really simple. The cam position sensor sends signal to the PCM, and the ICP sends signal to the PCM, and the PCM sends signal to the IPR, which means that if the PCM is bad, the IPR can be receiving the wrong signal, which would cause it not to work too. And then the PCM also sends signal to the IDM, which runs the injectors, and the IDM also sends some signal back to the PCM. It's very simple. Cam position sensor could not read the cam because there's a magnet on one side of the sensor. So where we had it in backwards, the magnet was on the side where it can't read it. That's why the thing wouldn't start when the cam position sensor was in there backwards. So that's a good diagnostic path to go by. I hadn't ever seen anybody else reply about having this issue, so I thought that it would be helpful for you to watch this video if you have a no start on a PowerStroke 7.3. Did the headlight conversion on this truck, which looks really good. I don't know what those lights were off of. And then we also did a mirror upgrade on it, so I could talk about that in another video if people are interested. These mirrors, we gave the company the VIN number and everything, but they still were not a direct fit, so we had to drill a little bit. But they look really good on this truck. They're really beefy, they're really solid. They're kind of expensive. I think they're about $150 a piece. But this is actually aluminum. It's not just like it's coated in something. It's an aluminum core. Very strong mirrors. If you have the factory mirrors on the truck, maybe you've noticed the problem. They build up a lot of play in here for some reason. That's why I put some silicone to help keep it stabilized, but they just like shake going down the road.